I'm here at the MOC Show with my good work colleague, Jeffrey Dam.
Thank you, Ricardo.
The founder of Ikigai Audio Cables from Holland. And why from Holland, I want to mention, because I've got a long, Absolute Sounds has got a very long history with Holland and precious metal cables. So for most of you, once upon a time, there was a few companies that produced from Holland very noble cables. I started with, Absolute Sound started with Siltec, then we built our own cable, the Mandrake cable. Unfortunately, the designer had a motorcycle accident and he could no longer build it. Then we moved on to crystal, and then obviously we were waiting for something new. So we're very proud to say that we found that something, that company that takes care of building cables with science, and you're going to obviously talk me a little bit into the science, and with soul. So this is the perfect combination. So Jeffrey, can you tell us a bit about yourself and then perhaps about the cables?
Thank you. I feel very honored that you found me and that I'm part of the Absolute Sounds team. That makes me very proud. That's also my Ikigai dream. What's so special about the cables? They're batch made, so that's one of the first things to say. You always say it's very artisan, and it needs to be that way. Because a lot of people talk about silver, the sound is harsh, it's cold, but it's not. If you treat the material in a good way, and you make sure that your crystals are very large, because I don't believe the story about monocrystals. It's not possible. You either have a very pure metal, very pure silver, or you have very large crystals with pure silver. And that's what I do. But that can't be made by spool. It can't be run for a kilometer. The wire can't be pulled the wire can be pulled. Only the recrystallization, the growth of the crystal again to very large crystals, that's a process that takes time. And you can't do that in a batch. And that's what makes it unique for Ikigai and for the sound it produces. We have many people coming in right now at the MOC, also saying, I never heard the Excelon sound like this. They're ceramic drivers, silver cables that must be harsh and cold and brittle, but it's the opposite. It's natural, it's flowing, and that's how it should be.
I see you're using an Oladra, an antipodus server here.
Yeah.
And we at Absolute Sounds really recommend to everybody that has anything from antipodus to use Jeffrey's connection, because it really elevates the whole performance. But Jeffrey, something is very interesting, because what you said is probably correct, but there is a lot of soul into the product as well.
Yes.
And what is that reference to, that soul? It's obviously your passion for music, but how do you reference to it as you building your cables and your concept?
Yeah, at first you start calculating. I have my basic in what the cable properties should be, of course for the analog cables. And after calculating, you start manufacturing, you start building. You measure and see if you're on par with what you calculated. And after that, you start listening. And then you already have made a few iterations, of course, tried a number of different thicknesses, materials, combinations in the material. And when that reaches a certain stage, then you have your O series, your first O series, which I'm trying with key customers. I know by heart, they're my friends. And I try it in different systems. And I only release a cable when it has the Ikigai soul, when it has the texture, the feeling, the flow, which an Ikigai cable should have. In each level, if it's Sugure, if it's Kangai, or it's Kinsan, the higher level, It should all have the same DNA.
Well, I can say that whatever he's told is absolutely correct.
Thank you.
But what we forgot to say is obviously you don't appear out of nowhere. You're a man of science, and I believe you did some work at Kharma at one point.
I started.
How much can we talk about this? I mean,
we can talk a lot about it.
So you did all the cabling, all the.
When I started, I was still in school. I was studying, and to pay for the studies, you also need to work. And I was already a customer, so then I had a system consisting of the Martin Logan Sequel 2. So the big panel loudspeakers, and each year I had some trouble with the panels breaking down at that point. Now it's all fixed, of course, but that was very expensive for me to change because the panels were very expensive. So I was on the search and the lookout for a dynamic speaker which had the same vision, the same sound signature as electrostatic loudspeakers. So I ended up at Charles at Kharma, bought the Ceramic 2 at that moment, and he asked, what do you do? Because you're 21, you're very young. How is it possible? I'm very passionate with audio. I built my own speakers, but of course these are much better. And we started talking, and he said, well, what are you studying? What are you doing? And I showed him. At that point, this was 25 years ago, 3D drawings, renderings, what I could do. And that was for him very interesting because his process of first developing a speaker turned over to we're rendering a speaker, we're giving design, we know what we are doing, how a speaker should sound. We let the public see this, and people invested. So the turnaround was quicker, and this came a trend in 2.5 years. So I did a lot of speaker designs for Kharma.
From that point, you moved on to Philips, I believe.
Yeah, I did not graduate at Kharma. I did not want to do that because I was working there, and when you need to have your own research project, and that. For me, that was the combination couldn't be made. So I did my graduation at Philips, and both companies loved me to stay. They said, we're going to offer you a job, please stay at us. And I chose for Kharma. So I kept working for 2.5 years at Kharma afterwards. So totally something about 3.5 years I worked for Charles. And after those 2.5 years, Philips phoned me again, and they asked me, we have an offer for you, you can't resist. So they made an offer, and I made the switch. And I spent 7.5 years developing professional camera systems for Philips in Breda. So that was...
what a lovely story. And then at one point you must have decided, I'm going to have to show the world these cables, no?
Well, at Philips, my component specialism was interconnection, was cabling. So that was a big part of my daytime job, besides designing cameras. And I also did a lot of work for school. So for the Applied University, I did guest lectures. I read graduation reports if they're on level, if the grading done by the professors was done correctly. So they already knew me, and they loved, please become a teacher. We have an open vacancy, and we think you're very good in teaching. So I made the switch, and after that I've been teaching for 14 years already. But I felt I'm a creator. My passion is in creating beautiful musical instruments. And I missed that when I was teaching. Teaching, yeah. So I started building all kinds of, I built my own record player, I built amplifiers, I built streamers, my own speaker system. So I did a lot of beautiful things, but also cabling. I did all my own cabling. And a good friend of mine, he owns a shop, and he told me, Jeff, give me some cables, I want to sell them. They're so good. I can't believe it. I said, nobody is waiting for me the market, you have so many beautiful cables. Who am I? I said, no, don't question yourself. I'm going to sell them. And before I knew it, he sold all the cables to his customers.
Well, Jeffrey, this is a wonderful, wonderful story. So we're going to summarize because obviously we're limited. Jeffrey builds a free range of cables, starting at the lower end of the high end with Sugure.
Yeah.
And then we've got Kangai.
Kangai, yeah.
And then Kinsan.
Yes.
And then we have the whole range of cables, USB,
Ethernet.
ASCBU, Ethernet, which we use tremendously with all our OLADRA and DCS combination. And then you got loudspeaker cables and interconnects. And there's one characteristic with all the interconnects and the digital cables is that you add a little earth tag on most of them. Is that correct?
Yeah, on the Kangai series and the Kinsan series, on the digital cables and also on the speaker cables, you can ground them to make a star ground connection. We also do it here. Not always.
It's
that
not
is
always, but
an
it
improvement.
makes a big difference when
but
it works.
when it in a lot of occasions, especially when you have a lot of interference in your room in your neighborhood, it makes a big difference. Yeah.
Well, it was nice seeing you again, man, and good luck.
Yeah,
because,
thank you very much.
And he's the guy. He's the guy. He's
Thank
the
you.
silver guy.